The first is about referral. So referral has become quite a big issue now. I think many countries that have abortion have a right in law to conscientiously object to abortion, but it's not clear what that means. And a number of people, a number of countries and medical societies are saying, well, what it means is that you don't have to actually do it, but if you don't do it, then you have to refer to someone who will. So then there's a question, is that, if you have a right to conscientious objection, do you have a right also to object to referring? And I suppose the first thing to say is, are we talking about a natural right? Are we talking about a right in justice, a right, something you might claim, or are we talking about a right in law, a right that the law of a particular country actually gives you? Because the law is there to mirror justice, but it does so imperfectly. So in terms of justice, that's where we should start. Well, if abortion is a grave injustice, then we have a duty not to participate in it. And if we have a duty not to participate in it, then we have a right not to participate in it, because we have a right to do what we have a duty to do. And so the question is referring for something participating? Well, I mean, I would just ask people to think. This is one of those think of a number things. So if I'd like everybody to think of something which is really bad, that they think is bad, that they think would be very bad for someone, very bad to do someone. And then think, is it right to be able to object to doing that, not to be forced to do that? And then think, would it be satisfactory if somebody said, well, you don't have to do it, but you do have to find somebody else to do it for you instead. So I think that fundamentally, if it's wrong to do something, it's wrong to find somebody else to do it for you, basically. So if by referral we mean intentionally facilitating something, then if we have a right to refuse to do something, then we ought to have a right to refuse to refer in that sense. And sometimes law upholds that and sometimes not. The law in this country is ambiguous, which means it's better than some, which is unambiguously bad, and not as good as others, which is unambiguously good. So ours is ambiguous, and so in law, it's not completely clear. And so the next question is, well, when we say a right, who are we trying to get this right from? And then we have to see what we can do to negotiate in relation to the patient in front of us, or if we're a healthcare professional, or the place we're working in relation to managers, in terms of saying why we don't think that as a general habit we can refer. But also, I think there is a difference between referring with the intention that somebody does it and informing people that they have a right to a second opinion, that they have a right to consult other doctors, and facilitating that if they don't know how to do that themselves. And that is not the same. Saying if somebody comes to me and say they want something that I don't think is good for them, then I might say, well, I wouldn't give it to you, but you do have a right to see another doctor, and this is how you go about doing so. And I think that can be done. In principle, that can be done. Whether it can be done in practice depends on how much the culture supports conscientious objection. I'm aware of time, but I will just touch briefly on how do you defend conscientious objection in a liberal democracy. And I would say it would be easy if we had a liberal democracy, because the basis of a democracy being liberal is precisely that it allows for a diversity of opinion, and it allows for the fact that some people don't accept provisions which other people do and which are legal, and that it accommodates to the greatest degree possible a reasonable amount of freedom for its citizens. So you wouldn't get a right of conscience in Stalin's Russia or in Hitler's Germany, but you might expect to in a country which has a framework of rights and freedoms. And indeed, the Catholic Church in the Second Vatican Council was moving in a more open direction towards liberal democracies, a more positive direction in relation to liberal democracies when it defended very strongly rights of conscience. And it's a pity that liberal democracies, some of them at least, have now moved on and left the church behind.
In this country, I don't think it should really be a major problem, because there's lots of ways I think we can work around that. In places like Canada, I appreciate it might be more difficult, because I know they're under extreme pressure there. Doctors who are trying to maintain the the dignity of human life. In this country, for example, take abortion. Abortion's an easy one. If it would, I don't think it would ever happen, but if a mother did come to me saying that she wanted me to refer her for an abortion, as a cardiologist, she might have some cardiac problem and she was concerned about the pregnancy, I would point out to her that I wouldn't be that I didn't do that. But I would also be able to point to the law actually as it stands, because the law is pretty clear, although I know people work around the law and they tend not to abide by the law. But the law is clear that abortion is still a criminal offence in this country. It may be carried out under the terms of the Abortion Act of 1967 and then with the various modifications that have taken place since then. But we know that the vast majority of abortions in this country are carried out on the basis of ground C, which is that continuing the pregnancy will harm the mental or physical health more than if the woman decides to choose a termination. And we know that of those 98%, 99%, or close to 99% year upon year are done on the basis that it will harm the mental health of the mother. These are the boxes that have to be ticked. And we know that there is no evidence anywhere in the world in medicine to say that abortion is necessary to protect the mental health of any mother. We'll be coming to the second question a little while about physical health and so on. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very easy that you would be, I think it would be quite easy to defend yourself on the basis of referring to the law as it stands. I don't think we need to go that far, but if a tricky situation ever arose, I think we say, well, in my professional opinion, in good faith, because that's the term that they use to allow two doctors in good faith to send women for abortions. So in good faith, in my professional opinions, I do not see any reason why this termination will improve your health or protect your health, or that it's necessary in some way. So I think the law as it stands is actually, if we wanted, if any doctor, Catholic doctor, Christian doctor, Muslim doctor, Jewish doctor, wanted to defend their conscience on that basis, I think the law does actually protect us. And I think it's important that healthcare professionals should be aware of that. Secondly, if I was put under extreme pressure, let's say in a debate on this issue, I would often refer to, like if someone says conscientious objection should not be allowed, it's depriving people of a right to healthcare or something. I would push it a little bit further, and I would always refer to things like death penalty. Okay, so in some jurisdictions, death penalty is allowed. In some jurisdictions, it may be that the death penalty is carried out by medical healthcare professionals, by lethal injection or whatever means they use. So should it be compulsory that doctors should not have a right to opt out or conscientious object? So I'd put them in that sort of an analogous situation, that if they wanted to put pressure on me that I must carry out or refer for abortions, that okay, do you believe, if you take your argument the whole way, are you going to force me to participate in death penalty? Because most people who are what they would call pro-choice or in favor of abortion, most of them will squirm away a little bit at the idea of doctors having to be forced or mandatorily involved in death penalty situations.